Today, the most exciting thing that we have is a coffee that we will be releasing. Actually, there's two coffees that I'm super happy about. We've got, I guess this is a little teaser or
Ooh.
behind the scenes. So we've got a washed Nicaragua that is women produced.
Oh, that's cool.
Um,
Okay,
yes,
okay.
and also throughout the supply chain for that coffee, it was all women, and
That's
it's
awesome.
being roasted. Yeah, so this one's a really exciting coffee. It's a washed Nicaragua. Um, it's a very overall sweet coffee. So I'm really excited about that. And then we're getting, we had it last year. So we're getting the new fresh crop from Papua New Guinea.
Hey, a PN.
Yeah,
Let's go.
a PNG PB, pea berry. So Papua New Guinea pea berry. And we've worked with Benchmark, who is our importer for that coffee in the past, and we're really excited to have them back again. I think I've become, I've improved my roasting skills, and
Okay.
this year is tasting a lot better than last year. I
Okay, okay.
think,
That's good. It's development.
yeah, no, it's a really fun experiment to see how just the improvement overall.
Coffee over the course.
Same coffee,
Yeah,
exactly.
and
And I really,
go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
What I was gonna say is so that guys, what process of the coffee and everything finished by women.
For the Nicaragua.
Right, right. That's common. Some coffee farm co-op, right?
So this specific
Is it
farm,
different, or is it this where it's all
this so for this specific coffee, the Nicaragua, uh, the it is woman owned. The farm is
right?
woman owned
Okay, okay.
by a single
Just
woman.
women owned.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I know
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like
And even the warehouse that it was brought into was also women owned
okay,
in Portland. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
it's
cool.
pretty cool.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, Luna, better have a good follow up. You can't coffee sheet.
I
Missed it.
was actually going to say that I dialed in the Tanzania on Batch Brew, the Avenues location at Public. Tasting supreme. I'm not gonna lie. I was very, very stoked on this coffee.
Is are not very
And it's also
okay.
a pea berry.
Yeah, it's also pea berry.
Very okay. That for berries just small little. It's coffee bean. Oh, there's smaller coffee bean.
I will correct you on something.
Okay, that's the end of the stream here. That's the episode.
So it's not a variety of coffee. A pea berry can happen in any varietal of coffee. It's just
Grab a pen.
it's just
The kind,
genetic.
the genetic trait,
Making me
guys.
laugh.
That's what I'm saying. I knew that. Okay,
So normally,
that was a
a
test.
typical a typical coffee cherry will contain two seeds normally. But pea berries will contain a single seed. So one single embryo will form
Okay,
instead
correct.
of two.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, okay. We get it. You're a professional, and you know what you're talking about. I know nothing. Little baby with knowledge.
We're learning. We're learning.
Okay, as you can see, chat. Today's episode is about education. So if you think you know something, you
You
better
don't.
just sit back and you don't.
There's more about it than you think.
Yeah. Okay. So again, guys, we're gonna about Q grading. So Silvana, what is grading? Textbook documentation. Here I kind of related it to A and the lines and all that. My understanding of off. So, but inform us of
Yeah.
what it is exactly.
Yeah, I think a lot of people apply that same meaning to Q graders. So a Q grader is a person that's certified by the CQI, which is the Coffee Quality Institute. And I can explain what that is in a moment. They are certified to grade the quality of coffee through taste and smell.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So coffee is graded on a 100-point scale, and any coffee that scores between 80 and above is considered specialty.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
So, and that is, I'm not, I'm so scared now. That's what this is. And then you're going to be like, nope, that's not what it is.
But the point of the Coffee Quality Institute is to elevate the quality of coffee and
Right.
also improve the quality of life for the people that are producing coffee. So
Exactly.
they provide a
Which,
lot of technical training
mhm.
to um, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of technical training throughout the entire coffee supply chain to increase the value of coffee and increase the volume of coffee. The volume of coffee that is of quality that people want to pay more money for.
Right, right. And that's a good point because we did talk about that with Ben from Long Miles. We talked about what's considered commodity coffee, or and then as well as like slave coffee and the purpose of the specialty industry with providing proper wages and living and all that sort of thing to the actual farmer, which is huge. So that's a really good reminder with the purpose of specialty coffee. Give me 1 second here. Sorry, had a window pop up. So specifically with quality of life, right? And it's about the quality of coffee, but as well as that in turn helps the farmer have a quality life thing instead of being bought
Yeah.
for dirt cheap, or it gives a standard and a good
Yeah.
window for
Like
it.
the price of coffee should cover the cost of production and more. So whatever it costs
Mm-hmm.
to produce that coffee plus their cost of living.
Yeah.
That's how coffee should be priced. That's how much we should be paying for coffee.
A lot of people, or a lot of like exporters, are implementing a lot of programs to do that now, which is what we'd love to
Mm-hmm.
see and we love to work with. I know that we've worked with a few people like Benchmark who are doing those types of things, so like P&G is definitely a huge one that we've worked with previously, and that's why we wanted to bring it back because they are doing those things. So
And it's kind of interesting because you do have still you have like a lot of local coffee shops that even though they've been in the industry for a long time, they still I feel like they're still unaware of what they're buying and how much like the effects of what they're buying. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and I think that's where like education comes
so
into.
how does someone distinguish between maybe a shop that might be buying lower quality coffee versus higher quality coffee? Is there bigger indications of that, or is
I
it just
think
hard to tell?
I think traceability of coffee, like knowing where the coffee has come from, is a good indicator because if you have the information for a specific coffee, it means that you're communicating along the supply chain. Whether it be like I have information from this importer, it's not directly from the person that produces coffee, but I still have that information. I think it's a good indicator of just making that connection, or the business trying to make that connection to the producer.
yeah, it's more so just
Yeah.
like being more transparent with the
Yeah,
whole,
transparency.
Yeah,
like
and that's a big thing I feel like a lot of coffee shops don't do. One person that I know that continually has a message of transparency is Luminous Coffee. I think Silvana, you've had Luminous Coffee. They're so good. I love it too. And my wife literally today was like, "Oh, I just want to buy so many coffees." I'm on their email thing and I see the coffees they have, but they have a really
Yeah.
good message of transparency. Mason and Lexi, I believe is their name. They really do offer a lot of transparency and kind of hold a standard of
Yeah, I actually
transparency.
met and I spoke with Mason when I was in Vegas
Oh,
for a
that's
couple of
awesome.
hours. Yeah,
That's so
we
cool.
got to learn a lot about the business and just how they do things. And he gave us a bunch of little samples to try, and they were all amazing and great. I just think they're just doing their thing.
Yeah,
and
it's really
they're
cool
great.
to see. It's like different. It's just way different, right? I mean, it's different when you're talking about like packaging and stuff like that. Obviously, it's like, oh, this is so cool because they do it so
So
uniquely.
cute.
But overall, they really do aim to provide transparency, right?
Yeah, they do the work.
They really do. They really do. If I could say there's one shop that I know that does it consistently, is it's them, right?
Hmm.
Perfect. And so along with the Q grading, right? So we talked about that it provides not necessarily a standard, but for quality coffee, right? It allows you. So the training process. What was the training process from day one to where you're at now? We had talked briefly in the shop the other day about you recertify every 3 years and that process. So and we've talked here on the podcast about briefly what coffee cupping is. It's along that process, what you do a lot of times too, as far as quality assurance and all that. But explain kind of just a general of, someone who's like, oh, you know what, I want to be Q certified or whatever in that process, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to be, I wanted to take the course a while, but it took me a minute to actually register for the test. It's a big investment. There's travel, the cost of the class itself. So the course is a 6-day course. And in 3 of those days, you're learning how to take the test. So there's a total of 19 tests that will test your sensory skills, your coffee knowledge skills, um,
Green coffee.
all sorts, cupping skills,
Cupping skills, okay.
and so I there's not a lot of stuff online. If you really dig, you can find stuff. But I think everyone that decides to take it should be very familiar with all the tests.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I ran a couple practice tests in the roastery actually. So there's 3 days of learning how to take the tests and then 3 days of testing, and it's like back to back to back, cupping. And then there's green sorting, there's roast assessing, there's triangulations. It's 19 tests total. So
Just 19 tests, no big deal.
just 19 tests, no big
19.
deal. Yeah, it's intense. It's intense. People get headaches. You get over caffeinated. Your sensory is overloaded.
Here in the roastery, and I'm not gonna lie, what she was going over made sense, but I was like, these were only like 3 or 4 of the tests that she was doing. And I was
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
so out, I'm already out of it. And like, you have so many more that you need to do. So
yeah. So once you get your Q certification, you have to recertify every 3 years, and you don't have to do the entire test. You just have to cup 3 tables. Oh, a window just popped up.
No,
Sorry.
we're good. I got it. That was on my side. Sorry.
Is that you? Okay.
Yeah.
You cup 3 tables, and the tables are broken up into like washed miles, Asians, naturals, Africans.
Oh my gosh, this is overwhelming for me.
And everyone has to be within a certain point.
Yeah.
So everyone has to be within, I believe it's like it's half a point. Everyone has to be within a half a point calibrated. So yeah, and you only have to pass 2 out of the 3 tables.
That's crazy. And again, this is good. So as a official Q grader, how does that change your abilities to roast at Publik or in the future if you ever decide to go to a different coffee shop, or because I feel like it's a pretty big certification.
Yeah, it is.
You slam it on the table. Hire me.
Yeah, it's. I think that going into the course, I came out of it like knowing a lot more than what I thought I knew.
Okay, that's good.
And just that helped me gain more knowledge altogether.
Yeah.
And it just elevated my sensory skills and sensory knowledge and just overall coffee knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think it's helped me in so many ways because what I do is roast, cup,
Repeat,
analyze,
rinse, repeat.
yeah, rinse, repeat. And it's just, I mean, anyone can learn how to taste, anyone can learn how to cup. And I think that you don't need a Q certification to
Right.
do that.
Right. Right.
So
There's a
that,
lot of,
yeah,
it's just time and experience and understanding and figuring out.
yeah, it was definitely a personal goal of mine to get it, to
Yeah.
be able to achieve that goal. But yeah, it's not something that anybody needs to be a roaster or anything in coffee.
Right, right. And that's kind of
Yeah.
cool about it because there's a lot of really good roasters out there that they probably at some point didn't have, the certification as a Q grader, but they honestly were pumping out delicious coffees, quality
Yeah.
coffees for that. Do you feel like, and this is specifically towards Public, right? So do you feel like, because I feel like your guys' coffee selections have changed over like even this last year or so. Do you feel like you have been able to push that in a different direction as their roaster based on your experience of what's really out there? Or
Yeah, I think that the coffee program itself has really changed from even before the pandemic.
yeah.
Yeah, because our overall goal was to have more rotating coffees on the menu that are not on. We used to have coffees that would be on the menu for months
Yeah.
without any rotation, and things just remain stagnant. And we want to try coffees that are very interesting. We want to try coffees that are more crowd pleasers, that are
Yeah.
kind of ease you into single origins. And I think we're doing a good job at rotating coffees that are really fun and funky, coffees that are more approachable.
Yeah.
So
Kind of explorative,
yeah.
Do-
And I like tasting a large variety of coffees too. So I'm also, that's kind of my own little spin on
Mhm.
the coffee program itself. I wanna have a lot of rotation, and I think we're doing a pretty good job. So
No, that's fantastic. And on Luna, on your side, right, the other side of the wall with maybe your team or with people that you've trained or being in the front, do you hear that feedback from people that, oh, this coffee was good, or wow, this is a new coffee, or do people notice the change?
Yeah, I think we've gotten a lot of good feedback from the coffees rotating pretty consistently. I think once they get really like stoked about a coffee, the moment they're like, "Oh, this is really good," and then we're like, "Here's this new coffee," and they're like,
They kind of expect like, oh,
Yeah.
ooh, another one.
and going in and dialing in and making sure all of these cafes know what they're serving or know what they're giving the customers is, I mean, we're definitely keeping them on their toes compared to what we're used to.
Yeah.
But this is a new staff, this is new Public. I feel like everyone's doing a really good job at that, but it's definitely been keeping me on my toes because previously it was like Silvana said, a coffee that's been on for a really long time. But now that we're rotating them out,
Mm-hmm.
we're able
You gotta
to
update people. You gotta,
we're like, oh, this, we're gonna throw it on, drip coffee over at Avenues, but you can always get it a pour over at West Temple. So like, I feel like that's more of an intrigue for customers, which has been really, really good.
Okay.
Wholesale clients also are like, oh, this is amazing, I want to buy this. So I think it's been a really good rotation. Like, I think honestly, I think Silvana is like killing it. I think she's doing
I think we're all killing it.
No. So Silvana, you're killing it. Together, all of you.
Just like Silvana's picking coffee, we're doing this, she's roasting it.
It's a team effort, but Silvana picks the
Yeah,
coffee.
it really is. It's like
we have our whole behind the scenes process of
yeah. And I'm gonna give props to Lindsay, who is our roastery operations manager. She is the most organized person ever.
No, that's awesome. And like you said, it really is a team. It really is a team effort to. It takes a whole team to transition and continually grow. And like you said, that's what I felt like for a while. It was like, okay, this is the same coffees, or the same profiles. It's the same And you honestly, you stop going to a place because it's like, okay, well, it's like me in particular, right? People who are familiar with the specialty coffee world, and we go to other places, and when we visit different states, we go, to particular places because we know like, oh, they're going to have a banger of a coffee on there. And so I've seen that. So good job, seriously. Not that I am the main consumer of, because we live up so far north, but we really have seen different sorts of coffees and different things develop, which is fantastic. So a round of applause for Team Publik. No, it's really cool because I feel like that's kind of like the rut that Publik was in for a little bit, was just the same coffees or the same profile. So when I'm buying 2 bags over here with peach, nougat, blackberry, starfruit, whatever it is, those are coffees that aren't typically there. They haven't been over the last 3-4 years. They haven't been there. Maybe a little bit every now and then, but those are the coffees that I look for. I'm like, oh, there's a good coffee. Let me buy it. Let me see. The seeing like even having where this is the label on here, we know the story of the whole label mishap sort of thing. But to have an anaerobic coffee, right, that particular process in your guys' coffee shop, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We in the past we were staying away from those innovative processes for who knows why. But those are coffees that I was always looking for when I was buying coffee.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, I cut you off, Silvana. Go. You're the guest. Finish your thought.
I lost my train of thought when you interrupted me.
Those are coffees that you sought after, but for whatever reason.
Yeah, we didn't have those available at Publik, but I wanted to make sure that we had some of those because it's just nice to try interesting things. It's nice to try something that's different, something that kind of blows your mind, like, whoa, I can't believe coffee can taste like that.
Yeah.
Right?
What is that? Yeah.
Like, I've never had something that had these flavor notes in them. I want to try that. And they're blown away. They're just like, I don't need to add cream or sugar to any of this because it's already so flavorful. So I don't know. I just think it's like opening a lot of people's eyes on what coffee can really taste like.
Yeah, I mean, that's always my goal. Whenever I'm like sharing coffee with people, their go-to is like, oh, let me go add some creamer or go add some sugar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just wait. Like try it first. Let it cool down when it's not like piping hot. Let it cool down, and this is what you're going to be looking for. Just, and the goal really is to compare it to a Keurig or whatever they've used to drinking, the bitterness versus the smoothness or not necessarily the fruitiness of it, but really like the texture of the cup, right? It's not this burnt taste that's left in your mouth. They're like, oh wow, this is a lot lighter, not lighter, but this isn't as heavy or as bitter tasting. Wow, I could probably drink this without coffee or cream. That's always my goal. It's just be like, yes, that's the first step, that you realize coffee doesn't have to be bitter. Coffee doesn't have to be covered up with cream or sugar. Like, it's naturally fruity, or it's naturally whatever.
Yeah, I think I like watching people's reaction when they try a coffee that is a lot fruitier than they're used to. Yeah. I'm just like, try this. And then you wait for the reaction, and it's like,
waiting.
Yeah.
And when they read something like blueberry or starfruit or, things like that, they're just kind of like, I don't want that flavor in my coffee. Yeah. I think you're used to the cream and sugar, but you're looking for sugar. So it automatically has some sweetness to it.
Yeah.
Just let it happen.
And that's always like the kicker. It's like sometimes when people look at tasting notes or what it's supposed to taste like, and they're like, well, like you said, they may not want that particular sweetness in their coffee. But they're not, it's because they don't have the understanding. Okay, it's not like blueberry. It's like a blueberry creamer that you're using, or a hazelnut creamer or anything like that that's
Yeah.
added. It's just characteristics of
Yeah, describing
blueberry, or
textures,
exactly.
describing,
Yeah.
acidity.
Sweetness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So from your standpoint, Luna, with your team and with your training, do you feel like Public has made changes along its training program with educating the consumer? Because it's different, right? You have people who come buy coffee, they're just here to buy coffee and sit down and do their work, or they're grabbing their coffee to go. There's not really a lot of opportunity, or they're busy to say, oh yeah, this is the coffee it is. But do you feel like even the slightest glimmer of hope and transition of moving towards being able to educate, the consumer more about specialty coffee and the coffees that they're drinking?
Yeah, I mean, my team is the roastery. I don't really have like a training team. But I definitely think, I mean, if a customer just wants to come in and out, absolutely. They're here
Yeah.
for their coffee, cream, and sugar, and I'm totally fine with that. But if a customer does come in and ask, hey, what do you have on drip coffee? Do you have a single origin option? Then I definitely would love to have our baristas, knowledgeable in telling the customer what we have to offer. And I think they're doing a good job. And I think that we have plenty of options now, which is pretty cool. Pour overs, at West Temple are huge. I feel like,
Are they at that specific location?
yeah, I feel like the moment you see someone
Yeah.
doing a pour over, they're just back to back to back
Really?
because the intrigue is there. They're kind of like, oh, what is that? And then the barista's like, oh, so this is our options, and we have all of
Yeah,
these.
yeah,
And
it's a great segue.
yeah, and so like a lot of the times, or even if it's on like drip coffee, we have our cabin blend, which is like our classic. But we do sometimes offer single origins on drip coffee. So I think that's like a little bit of a segue as well.
Right.
And so I think customers start to lean into that. And then they're like, oh, well, if I had this and I really enjoyed it, I would love to try your other options. And I think it's been doing really well since then. I think customers are more interested than I really thought.
Yeah.
Being or sometimes they're just like covering here and there because when they get really busy, I'm not going to just stare at them and be like, oh, they're struggling.
Watch them burn,
Yeah, like I will randomly go up and help them, and I will like talk to customers here and then. I'm like, oh my God, they're like really into what we're doing lately, which is really cool because I feel like before it was kind of just like getting in and out.
Yeah.
And more of the rotation that we're seeing on our menu is kind of making them like, oh, this is different. Oh, this is different. Oh, it's different again. So I think they're just kind of like, oh, I should try this before it's gone. So I think asking about it is more, which is cool.
Well, and I feel like I feel like I'm like the only one that ever gets pour over at, at that West Temple location. I'm like, can I get? That's all I get because I'm never gonna get drip because I'm like, because you have your little menu there and usually it is like the single origins that you guys pick. But I swear I feel like I'm the only one that that gets it. But that's interesting that you say at the other location that they, whatever the other location is, that they do pour over, or is it that location that they do pour over?
West Temple right now is the only one who does pour overs. Right. The Avenues used to.
See, that's what I was. Yeah, that's what I thought they did as well.
It was more of a hassle for Avenue because there's such a small space. Right. It's kind of like you have to get really like in way to do things. So West Temple, and they were selling way more. They're selling a lot of pour overs. The moment someone sees a pour over, they get ordered like crazy. When I'm trying to dial something in, I'm like stuck there because they're like, oh, I have a pour over. I'm like, oh, I'll just do it. And then they're like, oh, another pour over. I'm like, I'll just do it. And they're like, another one. I'm like, I'll just stay here
forever.
Like, it just kind of like trickle. It's like a little trickle effect. It's kind of keeps going, but there are days,
I think that's huge. I think that's a great indication, though, that the coffees that you're offering are headed in the right direction, right? That you can pull numbers and say, oh, you know what, over the course of the month, this is what we saw as our coffees transition. This is the amount of pour overs that we had, or we had this many more batch brews on those days. In my head, I'm like, those are stuff that you could track to say, you know what, hey, like these single origins are like doing really, really well. These are the metrics that show you, oh, on this day we had, or this week we had a single origin and this much more coffee, and you can kind of partner with the front front team or whatever, and good opportunities. Because I feel like as soon as someone is inundated with that term single origin, they either ask, oh, what's a single origin, or
Yeah.
they know and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you even had single origins. Yeah, let me do that coffee, over
Yeah.
what's typical on either your batch or.
Yeah, I think.
And
Oh, sorry.
should I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think back to training. Our training at the moment is more focused on the employees. Um, and I think that's, and what Luna was saying, that shows just a lot of, uh, I guess, commitment to the employee from the employer. And I think that's helped get people excited and be able to just kind of be more, what am I trying to say? Just
Like,
express what they're learning to customers and guests.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's a huge we were in Colorado, and my brother's over the course of the last year and a half or two, he's really done a lot of steps towards specialty coffee. He got a pour over, EKG, gooseneck, and he's got his own little coffee set up, and he recently got a ratio, and he has this whole thing set up, and he can visit coffee shops now, and he understands and knows how to look at bags or look at whatever profile that he's wanting, and he has the ability to go to the front counter area and ask them, oh, what coffees are new, or what single origin coffees do you have? And it's really the shops, like a good pat on the back, that shops that can do that, or they train their baristas to offer that little bit of knowledge to help new people, but as well as you keep your clientele of specialty coffee drinkers, because we're different than the normal person that's like, oh, can I refill my thermal and I got to go to work sort of thing, right? And I feel like that's a good, I wish a lot more specialty coffee shops or coffee shops in general offered more information or education. Like I always have to ask, oh, what about this coffee, or what about this one?
You have to find the balance of who wants this, who doesn't want it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or let me just tell you everything I know, and you're like, I just wanted some coffee.
Exactly. And you fill it out. You have to fill it out, or else you just crash and burn, and then you're like, well, I'm never sharing about that again.
Well, I was dialing in at the Avenues location today, and there was a regular who comes in all the time at multiple locations, and I was dialing in, and I was at the front counter, so I was like, oh, what can I get for you? Nice to see you again, blah blah blah, and they were like, oh yeah, I'll just get a drip. What do you have? Do you have cabin, or do you have a single origin? And I was like, oh yes, this is amazing. I was like, well, I'm dialing in a new coffee, so this isn't launched yet, but would you like to try it with me? And they were ecstatic.
That's so cool.
They were like, absolutely, I would love to try this coffee that I haven't launched yet. So they were also giving me feedback, and I was also sitting there and saying oh yeah, I think I should, tweak it in this way. What do you think? And they were like, oh yeah, I like this about it, but I do, agree with you. So it was kind of cool because they were able to kind of interact with the whole process, which I'm sure they've done before, but they were there, and I was like, hey, I know you're a regular, and I know you appreciate the single origins that we do launch. So that was kind of cool. I've never really run into that situation before, but it was really interesting because I was like, would you like to try this coffee that I'm dialing in right now? So it was cool. And then we were able to, end on a finish recipe, which was cool. Yeah. And they were like, this was really good. I agree. We should go with this. So it was really cool. I have never done that with a customer before.
And I think that's cool. I think that I wish that was the standard for specialty coffee, because we're already trying to be different. So why not? But it's all just training. It's all just taking the time. And it really comes down to the invested employee that's going to say, oh, you know what? I'm going to take this information and run with it. Right. But when you have people who've been in it for so long, or you guys, or people like me or my wife, we strive for the education portion, and we love sharing coffee. And I feel like that is a good foundation. When you just naturally want to share coffee, you share that information with people, right? You share the good transparency, or you share, and it entices them, or it shows it's the value, right? People buy value. People are the by valuing the reason why you do things, or and I think that's really cool, and I hope those experience happens more often, where you can talk to the barista or talk to the roaster and find out more about the coffee, because I feel like it shows the investment from the consumer side, but also the appreciation for what you guys do, right? I think it's so cool that you guys roast coffee. I'm like, I want to do that, and it's so cool that you guys do that, and I love it, and it's fantastic, and it's cool to see your guys's progress along being in coffee, because I've known you guys for a while. I know it's just been through social media, and then every now and then when we visit, we wave through the glass,
through the window.
through the window. That's been for the last
Yeah.
couple of years. It's just been like, hey.
The longer I'm in the roastery, the less I want to be outside talking to people.
That's funny. You're like, leave me. Can we block out the windows? That's awesome. No, and again, it all ties to knowledge and education from roasters, whether you're a Q grader or not, right? The Q grader is kind of like the icing on the cake of an experienced roaster, right? It's stuff that you generally knew, right? You didn't go into Q grading as like, I know nothing about coffee. You had experience roasting coffee, right? Prior to
yeah, I did, and I had experience with home roasting as well, and I think that's also very helpful to have that access to roasted coffee, where I could roast coffees that I wanted to put some roasting defects in there to be able to identify. I think it was very helpful that I had the access to a roaster to do my experiments with. So yeah, I would not recommend somebody going in cold to take.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine. It'd be too much. You'd have to have like an incredible palate.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Luna?
I said, apparently some people have gone into the testing and have never been experienced before. I know Silvana has told me that she said that.
Yeah,
crazy.
There was an individual that was a little more fresh into coffee, and I think they definitely struggled. But
I can't imagine. If I went into, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Who sent me here to
and
take all
even
these
like people
tests?
that are a little more familiar with the test and just knowing how to cup, I think everybody feels like that. Oh, what am I doing here? What did I get myself into?
It's a lot of information. Like I was looking at the I forgot who made it, but there is a roasting guide. It's like a book it's like this thick. It's a big thick book that touches everything on roasting and stuff. I don't remember who.
Scott Rao?
No, I don't think. I'd have to find it. Like I'll message you and but it's
Rob who's?
Maybe it's like a big it's a thick book. There's just a lot of information on it. So I can't imagine like going into an unknown, like, here's how to fly a spaceship, and you've never flown a spaceship before. You've only seen, because there's just a lot of information. Right?
You've never done it before.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
And a lot of it really is just tasting. It's just tasting. Like,
yeah, and even just going back to, like, remember the first time you cupped? You had the spoon, the clipboard, keeping track of the thoughts in your mind, what you're tasting, and it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and then you have to like be tested on it and stuff. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
So kudos to you. Next up on the Q grading list is Luna, as soon as she does it, right? In the future?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I did a couple of the tests with Silvana, and they were, I understood what it was going on. I was like, okay, I know
you were lost. You shouldn't be lost.
And that's what I kind of was like, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing, sort of. But then I was like also nerding out when she was doing the green grading. And I was like, oh, okay, so these are the defects. And she would do practice runs, and I'd be like, oh, so these are the, like, what you have to figure out. This is this defect, this is this defect, and you have to like sort them all out. And then, like, I don't know, it was definitely intense, and I don't know if
it's tedious. The green grading's tedious.
It is very tedious, but there are definitely like multiple situations. But I feel like I would love to go into wanting to be SCA approved for being a barista trainer.
Mhm.
I think that's the direction I would prefer to go. But Q grading, I don't know. That
Just
could
do
be
both of
also.
them. Just get over with. Just do
I'll
both.
just
Why not? I
take
think
them
it'd be
all,
fine.
the tests all at the same time.
Become double certified in it. That's perfect. Okay, we are getting towards the end of the show. Again, guys, I want to thank you for being here and talking coffee. I love talking coffee with you guys in person or on here or through Instagram. I'm just like, you guys know this. Me and my wife, we love coffee and we care about especially coffee. We love sharing time with people about coffee. Oh, my freaking
Us too.
notification. Sorry, my notification went off first.
Oh.
Your boyfriend gave me some hydration. I have a notification that goes off. I don't know if you can hear it. You can probably hear it on the stream side.
I don't hear nothing.
It's a song that's on there. Anyways, sorry, that distracted me. We'll cut this part out on the final production of this episode. But again, guys, so
We'll edit it out.
I know we'll edit it out. Anyways, clean cut. No, but it's great to get a little bit more. There's so much to Q grading. It's not easy to just. It's just so much information, and anybody watching will probably be overloaded with the nuances of it. But the idea, when I started doing this podcast and started trying to do this once a month and talking with friends in specialty coffee, whether they're roasters, they're owners, or producers, farmers, whatever that is, the goal has always been to educate the audience, the people that watch this when they watch it on YouTube, to educate them on specialty coffee, to spark interest, to spark curiosity about what specialty coffee is. Why is it different than my Starbucks coffee? Why is it important? What's the impact of it? And you guys have added to that mission and all that. So I seriously say thank you. And you guys are incredible, awesome individuals. And I love what you do. Don't stop doing it. Change Utah and specialty coffee little by little.
Little by little.
Little by little.
Little by little. We're getting there. It's been small, but we're getting there. Which is kind of cool because Publik's on the forefront of that.
Someone mentioned that they see Salt Lake as the next coffee hub.
I've heard of that before. I don't remember who said it, but I have heard of that. It's so interesting that you say that because that really is. It's like the very baby steps of. It's like as if it was the beginning of specialty coffee, but because we're behind. It's just we're at a slower pace than obviously like Seattle or other places.
It just takes them a little bit longer to realize that we're here. Yeah,
it's like Salt Lake has good coffee. Well, it's starting to develop, and it's kind of cool to see it all fruition.
The looks I got as well. Like when we were at Expo, I feel like I don't know about Silvana, but I was like, "Oh, I'm from Utah, Salt Lake City," and I feel like a lot of people were like,
"What?"
Yeah, that was the reaction.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Like they have coffee there.
Yeah, no, we
have coffee.
Coffee. We love coffee. It's not
like we're normal human beings, people that like coffee. It's not anything crazy.
Wake up in the morning. I don't know.
It's like the one state where coffee just never entered, never was imported, and people are unaware. No, and I think it really is developing, and it's kind of cool to see it and compare it. You wish that it was more developed, but that's because you go to the East Coast or the West Coast and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many places, or not that it's overpopulated, but there's a lot of good coffee roasters out there that.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. So perfect. Again, thank you guys. Last words of encouragement for people who want to be introduced to specialty coffee, that want to be a home brewer or visit a coffee shop. What's some good encouraging, couple sentences to encourage someone to familiarize, to change their life? Luna, go.
Oh, me first. Okay, so I know being in the coffee industry is hard. It is. I feel like a lot of people are just like, this was a fun job, but I'm over it. But if you stick it out, it's honestly really worth it. And I especially think right now, there's a lot of room for growth. So I think don't give up, keep going at it. And if you want to keep your interest in coffee, I think you'll find what you want in the end. I mean, me and Silvana have been in coffee for a really long time. So if you stick it out, I think it's worth it.
And what's crazy is that's absolutely true. I think you're seeing, and this will probably be a future episode with like an actual coffee shop owner, is that a lot of shops, it's like a trickle down effect, right? The farmers and producers that they purchase from, it's like a standard of high quality coffee that gets translated to what the shop provides, right? With honest prices of like, look, you get at Starbucks and you get a venti frappuccino and you're spending $6 and you can't buy a $5 latte from here, right? And I feel like that standard's changing slowly through the industries to provide, shop owners the ability to actually have a livable wage for people who are in the coffee industry, where the roasters and all that, right? And doing that properly. That'll be a future episode, but that's really important that you say it, because things are transitioning. It's not like, okay, this is just like Dunkin' Donuts, like not commercialized. Oh, here's your $7.25 minimum wage, like, and there's shops that are like that. There's shops that are, it's very much like that. But I like you said, I feel like in the long run, things will start to change.
I think it's a lot quicker now so than it was previously.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like good interest right now, I think.
Yeah.
Sure.
Perfect. Silvana?
My advice, I think just keep having fun with it. And don't be serious all the time. It's not aprons and mustaches and curling your mustache. I think that we have a good balance of fun and seriousness in the roastery, and yeah, keep it fun. Don't take it too seriously when you don't have to.
And it's coffee.
Don't bum yourself out.
It is coffee, yeah. And it is there's no person out there who has tried every coffee that's ever existed and they figured out every perfect way to brew it. And
yeah,
it's a constant humbling and learning experience for people.
It is.
But the reason why I got special coffee is the fact that you can adjust recipes, you can experiment, you can brew something this way. And it's the same thing with, you see the trends of different processes happening from farm, right? The anaerobic or different ways. Like I remember when I first started getting coffee and went to SCA, it was really popular for like barrel aged coffees, right? Green that was in barrel aged. That was a time period when people would do that. And it was like the anaerobic kind of phase, or where people discovered it and like, whoa, this is kind of interesting that we did that. Now, did it stick around? You don't see a lot of barrel aged coffees anymore, really none. But it was an interesting experience. And now I have that for me to share with people, like, oh yeah, I had this coffee that 1,000% tastes like bourbon, and I hate bourbon, but it didn't have the effects of burning my throat, choking me out, bourbon, but it tasted and it smelled and brewed like, I mean, it changed completely the coffee profile, but it was just something experimental, right? It was something that they did, and it's always changing and always new things, right?
Yeah, this industry is still fairly young and it's evolving.
What's next, Silvana? What's next for the coffee industry? What's the secret? There's got to be a secret blog, Q Grader blog of theories and conspiracies of coffee things coming.
There's a secret handshake.
There's got to be something you've heard about that's secret.
No, I think we're seeing more people developing their own representations of darker, more developed roasts.
Interesting. I don't
Whereas
like that. I don't like
back in the
coffees.
day, it was just light roast. And we talked about this yesterday, actually. Cafes offering larger milk beverages, 16-ounce lattes.
16-ounce lattes? That's unheard of.
And I know that canned cold brews and canned like lattes have been a thing for a while, but I feel like a lot of specialty coffee shops are making it more, available as well.
Yeah. And I think the pandemic changed a lot of stuff. I mean, right now we offer 5-pound bags of coffee online, and that wasn't a thing before. Yeah. Definitely saw a lot of people increasing the amounts, like 2-pound bags or 5-pound bags. Do you remember when people were doing lattes by the half gallon, like in the middle of, like, do you guys remember that? In the middle of the pandemic? You don't remember that? Oh.
that a
Yeah.
pro?
Cafes were doing that to, yeah.
Like, here's a half gallon of latte, take home.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh my
you
God.
never saw that?
No.
Talking about like the pre-made ones.
Pre-made, yeah. Cold lattes.
Hot latte that someone brought in a
No,
like
no, no, no. Just cold,
crazy.
cold lattes
I
you
never
could
saw that.
store
I
in the
didn't see that.
fridge.
like gallon. No,
Half gallon.
those. Yeah.
Large amount of to-go coffee to stay at your house.
Yeah, so you could just stay at home.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I never
like-
saw that. That's crazy.
You never saw that?
No.
A
Like
lot
I
of-
said, conspiracy stuff out there. You know it all. You're in the back end of all the coffee stuff.
It made it a huge thing for a little while. I almost wanted to buy a little like half gallon thing. I was like, that looks so appealing. And I was like, what am I doing? I don't want that.
I don't need it. My anxiety doesn't need it. Perfect. Okay, that's it, guys. Thank you so much, Luna, Silvana. You guys are the coolest people I know in Utah right now because of what you guys do. And I really do appreciate the time to take and do this. Again, if you're watching, we'll cut this up. This will be online tonight, so you can rewatch if you missed anything. It'll be on the YouTube, and we'll share it on the socials and everything like that. But thank you guys so much. This was so fun.
Thank you for having us.
We'll have to have you back again when you're doing some cool stuff. Like-
Okay, maybe.
Oh, okay, maybe. Sorry. I'll just never share any knowledge of what I think I know because it'll all get thrown in my face. That's my
I mean,
own
the
fault.
more you know, the more you know.
I'm
you
just
know?
a home
more you
barista.
know.
I don't know anything, okay? Whatever. All right, guys. I will see you guys later. Thank you so much.
Thank you.